Okay.
And
A good
things have
starting
changed just a
place.
little bit from. Well, I'll take you back. Let's go back to January. Let's go back when you
Yeah.
got that phone call. Where were you when you got the call? What were your feelings when you got that call from David Baker?
Well, I was actually in my office, actually my friend's office, Kelsey Warren's office, and a bunch of guys that were on our team were in that office along with my wife, Karen. And David Baker, he never seems to connect with me uh, at the time when he's calling. So he said, "Cliff, I've called you twice. I haven't got you." So, but he finally connected with me and told me that I had made it into the Hall of Fame. And I was walking out of the room and walking out of the room just to kind of hear what he was saying. And my knees buckled when he told me that my guys told me that my knees buckled when I walked out. And it was just really just an incredible moment. I mean, there were just incredible memories and thoughts that went through my head at that time. It's just fantastic.
And of course, the induction ceremony was supposed to happen basically right about now, and the
Yeah, it
pandemic
was.
had other plans, and so it gets pushed back to next year. What's that whole process been like this summer? When
Yeah.
I'm sure you had friends and family who were planning to be there in Canton for the induction
Oh, yeah.
ceremony, and then you had to tell them, well, let's put it off for a year.
Yeah. I had, I mean, 200 people that we were planning to invite. And the first thing that happened was that they said, well, we're going to have to move the Hall of Fame induction. And they gave us 5 different options, so it really was like giving none. And, but the bottom line is that, it's going to happen. It's going to be a great event. I, I expect that there possibly could be even more changes coming, because what they are planning to do next year in August in Canton, Ohio, on August the 6th or about that time, well, the Cowboys are playing the Steelers, and they're going to induct both the 2020 class and the 2021 class, which means there's going to be close to 20 different inductees going in. And I think it's going to be overwhelming for the city, for the fans, and for the inductees. So I'm thinking there's a possibility they may try to move that around some.
So once after the call came, and once it settled in after your long wait that you're going into the Hall of Fame, what were the things that occupied your mind more than anything? What stood out in your mind once things settled in and said, okay, I'm going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, I mean, the first person that I thought about was my dad. He taught me so much about life and football and toughness and overcoming, and that's all the components that need to go into being successful or being a good football player. And I and my family, and then remembering back on where I started, and the odds of me making it, particularly coming from Washita Baptist University or college then, and being a free agent. But not only that, gosh, I was just a skinny kid in the 9th grade when I first came out in football. But so it tells you that there's, there's a chance for everybody to do anything in the world they want to do. If I could make it to the Hall of Fame, there's a chance you can do it.
And you kind of followed in your dad's footsteps because your dad played at Washita Baptist as well, right?
That's exactly right. My dad played center and linebacker of all things. He was, my size, and that was a different time. Then he left in the middle of his sophomore year and left Washita to go to the South Pacific and fly P-38s, which is a fighter plane during World War II, and was shot down in the South Pacific. and was on a raft overnight in the South Pacific, and they rescued him the next day. So there was a lot of mental toughness that went in there, and good luck and good faith, and God was good to him and me, you know.
So how many scholarship offers did you have coming out of high school?
Let me think. I think I had one good one, one solid one. The reality was I moved from Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is a big town for Arkansas, and to a little town which is in the mountains. It's a resort town to the eastern Arkansas, which is the Mississippi Delta, to a little town called Desart, which only had 2,000 people or less. And I was a quarterback, and so that year I quarterbacked an undefeated team, and I started my journey and my steps then. But the reality was there was another great, really good player, John Wayne Cunningham, that was on the Desart team, that was a running back that was the state's leading scorer, and Coach Benson, the coach at Washita, wanted to get him. So he thought that if he asked me and him to go along, that he could probably get John Wayne and me, and I'd come along. So I was fortunate to get a shot there. So there is a chance for anybody that is a late bloomer. I think I was still growing while I was in the pros. You know, I mean, so I was a real late bloomer.
And as it turns out, what's the stadium at Washita there in Arkadelphia called?
Yeah.
It's Cliff Harris Stadium. That was quite an honor, wasn't it?
That's a great honor. My buddy Kelsey Warren had a lot to do with that stadium, and you know they've been in the division playoffs for the last 4 years in a row, and they gave me a big new ring before I got my Hall of Fame ring. So David Sharp, the athletic director there, brought it by my house, and so I've got another division championship ring. So they have been playing really well in that Cliff Harris Stadium. They call it the Cliff. Imagine that.
And I understand
Cliff.
I understand there's been some renovations at the Cliff too.
Yeah, they have. We've gotten actually AstroTurf, you know, a new great, really good field. We're going to put a new visitor dressing room in the end zone. So it's a you know, the thing, you know, you're going to know this, Bill, that playing football in the fall in Arkansas is a great place to play, because the temperature is changing, the leaves are changing colors, and it's a great feeling, and there's just a great feeling in the air. In Texas, you know, which is fine, you know, it goes from green to brown to winter, you know, so there's really not a fall here. It just goes from summer to winter. And when you play football that's why I used to love to go to RFK Stadium and play the Redskins, because it was more like Arkansas. That's why we beat them.
There you go. And what did George Allen? Okay, George Allen called you a rolling ball of butcher knives. That was the famous quote from George Allen.
Whatever, you know, I really, you know, I think that explaining me as a hard hitter, and I knew when to hit people and receivers hard, was because you're trying to accomplish something by that. You're trying to send them a message and make the defense overall more effective. And so that's what I did. But the game that I enjoyed the most was playing the mental games with the quarterbacks and trying to confuse them and try to make them think that we were, you know, Charlie Waters and we had so much fun back there trying to confuse the quarterbacks, making them think that we were in one defense or another. And that would give your defensive line enough time to sack the quarterback. So it was just a lot of fun. And, you know, hitting guys was just something you had to do to get their attention.
So that double major at Washita, the math and